Julie. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi.
Hi, thanks for coming. I'm
Yeah,
glad you're here.
It's so good to be here. Yeah.
Thank you. So I think you know a little bit about the podcast. I told you a little already. The point of what I'm trying to do is to talk to fire spouses, basically to highlight the partners of the firefighters who we love so dearly and who do a lot of work, but so do we. So first, I'd like to hear a little bit about you. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Gosh, where to start? So my husband's Pat, and we have 3 boys, and they are 13, and 10. So, yeah, and they're all in middle school now. So, yeah, it's an exciting time. And I'm a social worker, so that's what I do. I do outpatient therapy.
Wow.
Yeah.
I would argue that's harder than being a firefighter. Social work is one of the hardest things that you could ever do. So thank you for doing what you do. How do you like your job?
I absolutely love my job. I had to take, just because of, the firefighting and, the schedule and parenting, I took several years off to, be home with the kids, and it was a luxury, right? And I loved it, but there's something special about also being able to, have a purpose in the community, and I really love what I do, and I look forward to going into work every day.
Wow, that's beautiful. If only everybody could feel that way about their job. That's pretty amazing. Yeah. How long have you been doing that?
Yeah, so I took about I say probably 7 or 8 years off when the twins were born, and then when they all started school, I started back up again. So just lots of different social work roles. I used to work for DCF, and I've worked in inpatient locked units and nursing homes, but the job that I have right now is just a good fit because you can do things by Zoom, and so sometimes I stay home, and everybody can get access to mental health care now, which I think is great, even if they don't have transportation or funds.
That's wonderful. What population are you with now?
So I work for a nonprofit, and so I work with, a lot of my clients are in recovery houses trying to get sober. I work with a lot of, sometimes the homeless shelters, things like that. Yeah.
Wow, that's really hard and amazing. Are you 5 days a week?
No, I get to make my own schedule, which nice. Again, works perfectly with the firefighter, rotating things. So I tend to work, 3 full days, and then I'll do documentation on the other days.
Yeah. That's great. That's really cool. So tell me a little bit, how did you and Pat meet? When did you meet? Tell me your love story.
So we met the good old-fashioned way in a bar. And so it was my last year of college. I went to Simmons in Boston. And so every Thursday night we would walk to, it doesn't exist anymore, but we'd walk to Antuanua's. And one Thursday night, Pat was there with his friends because somebody was, it was a goodbye party for something. And I started too much to drink. I started chatting him up. He was quite shy.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's not funny.
Really?
And I ended up, and then his friends were leaving. It's oh, I got to go. And so it was actually me that was well, don't you want my number? So anyways, he called the next day, and it was all done from there.
That's amazing. Yeah. Pat does not strike me as shy. That's very surprising.
I know, he used to be. So that was maybe 23 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Was he a firefighter already?
No. So he's been a firefighter for 14 years, but he's been, an EMT since he was 18. So since I've known him, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So when you met him, he was already an EMT.
Yes.
How long after you guys got together? I can't do that math.
I know,
right? Become a firefighter.
So it actually took him a long time to get on because I think it was so much harder, right?
Mm-hmm.
Back then, with the lists and the taking the test every 2 years. I think there was a lot more demand for the job, people wanting it. And so anyway, so it took him a long time. He didn't get on until he was almost 30. And then also he had a couple interviews, and he has scoliosis. And so I think he got passed by a couple times. But anyways, one department hired him, and then he moved to Natick after that. The EMS world, it's, fire, police, and then it's such a small world, and how many different roles that you all play, you know what I mean? And what you move on to, you know what I mean? Some people move on to be nurses, PAs, all the things. Yeah.
Being an EMT is a really good stepping stone, I think. And it for a lot of things, for fire, but also for all the other medical things. Not that it, needs to be a stepping stone. It can be its own career, but it's definitely a good experience for anybody. So I can see what you're saying.
Yeah.
One thing that I remember Robbie telling me about you and Pat is that you took a 6-month trip, I think he said. You traveled the world for 6 months.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
actually,
what was
a little
that?
bit
Tell
more
me.
like we spent about 4 years
Oh.
traveling, but it was like off and on. So I finished my last year of college, and so I majored in psychology. And at the now I was like, we know, like, okay, you can't do anything when you graduate with psychology, which I did not know at the time. So graduated, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there wasn't much I could do with a bachelor's in psychology, and I wasn't, so I was like, oh, I'm going to go to Europe for a couple months.
How
and I'm like,
amazing.
do you want to come with me? And he was like, yeah. And so we had only been together for, I don't know, maybe like 7 or 8 months at that point, and then just left the country.
Wow.
So we went to Europe for about 2 months, and then we got back, and I was like, that was so good. The travel bug bit us. And so then we worked a bit. And so that's the other thing I love about like the EMS world is that you can just pick up shifts, right? Like whenever you want. So what we would do, so for about 4 years, so then we went to, we would come back, we would work for a few months, like earn a bunch of money, and then travel again.
And
then
go
come
spend
back.
it.
Yes. And then just like,
That's awesome.
so we came back, worked for a few months. Then we went to Asia for 4 months. And then we came back. Then we went to Australia and like New Zealand and Fiji for like 4 months.
Wow.
And then we went to Africa for 5 months. And then we were, at that point, I think we were probably about, I don't know, 25. And we were like, okay, we should probably get real jobs. And then and then we needed like a house, and we were like, let's get married, like, you know what I mean? We always knew we were going to get married. It was one of those things that like wasn't questioned. So we were like, oh, let's do the whole marriage and house thing. So that's when we settled down.
That's amazing that you did that. I think a lot of couples don't. I wish I had done something like that. Yeah, because now married, kids, jobs, you can't just be like, I'm going to leave for 4 months. But what an amazing experience.
Yeah.
Where was your favorite part?
I liked Africa the best.
Wow.
It's just a completely different world. You're just transported.
Do you still travel with the kids?
So we just started traveling like internationally with them. It's like so different, right?
They're
like,
at a good age now.
Yes. So we had like a family wedding in Brazil, and so they were like,
that's right.
And they were like, bring the kids, and we were like, you sure? and so we did. So we like got them passports, and we went to Brazil, and it was such a long flight that we were like, you know what? Like, let's just do a layover each way. So we went to like,
perfect.
Panama and Colombia, and
Wow. Wow, you went to Colombia with your kids.
Yeah,
that's brave.
I know, that's what everybody
brave.
said. Yeah, we're pretty like brave travelers. We're now that we have kids, like you have to think everything through a lot more. But
right. Especially with 3 kids. It's not just one, and you can take turns or something. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Cool. Okay, so tell me what it means to you. I know this is a little vague, but what does it mean to you to be a fire wife?
Yeah. So like since I've known Pat, right, he's always been an EMT, so he's always done 24-hour shifts, and like always more. Like, I mean, he works like crazy, so he would just keep picking them up. So I've always, that's all I've ever known with him, right, is that these crazy work schedules and like the rotating. And when we were young, right, I thought it was great because I was like, oh, I would go out on the nights that he was like doing his 24s, like I would, get together with my friends, or I would have a night, and sit and
watch your own TV show or whatever. Yeah.
So it was, that part was great, right? But then it gets to a point where, you know what I mean? So then it's like you get married, there's a lot more responsibilities, there's kids, and then the schedule becomes really hard. And so I think for like, Pat, like he's always like, I think it just kind of like becomes like it's a lifestyle, right? That like you're really not, you don't really think it through. It's like, oh, it's very exciting, right? And you love that they love it, right? Like he's always known, like, this is my calling, like this is what I want to do. He's never had a doubt in his mind since he was a kid. And so, but it's not, you know what I mean? But then I think you don't realize that when you're together and like, you're married, and it becomes your life too. So it's like, it's a lifestyle, but it's not necessarily like your choice, but you have to know, right, that, and it's the whole family too. So then it also becomes like for the kids, like it's a sacrifice for everybody, and it's a good one, but it's, it can be challenging.
Yeah. I never really thought of it that way. It's a calling for them. I think the same way for Robbie. He always, I've never had any doubt that this is what he wants and he loves his job. But it has to be a calling for us too. Yeah. And I never really thought of that, right? We have to be willing to do all that. And a lot of people aren't aware going in that this is what you're committing to. Wow. That's a really good way to put it. And the poor kids have no say in the matter.
Right. So I think that's how it's like, it's not on the forefront of your mind, right? But then it becomes, and then all of a sudden you're in it. And there's, just like any job, like there's going to be these parts of it that you don't foresee. And then and then it's just adapting, right? Like, and there's so much like flexibility that you need to have when you're a firefighter and the family.
Right. Wow. That's you took me away with that one. It's true. It's very true. What do you think is the best part of being a firewife?
So again, Pat like loves it so much, and like you can see that he's like perfect for it, and just like the impact that he's having. And so, just to kind of like give like one example. So this was oh my God, this was like, I think when the kids were like doing like kinder kicks, right? So they were like running around the field and the parents are all hanging out. And then like towards the end of the game, this mom came up to Pat and was like, you probably don't remember me, but like 2 years ago, you saved my life and you saved, like she was pregnant and like you saved my baby's life.
Wow.
And 2 years later, she was like, I'd never forget your face. I hope it's okay. I had to come over and like say hi to you and like say thank you. And then she points out like her 2-year-old who's like running around happy and
Pat saved.
Yes. And like pregnant. And like perfect. Just like hearing people like, like the impact that he's had, like, in the community. And that's definitely like the best part of you.
Right. Wow. That's pretty amazing to even witness that, to see that woman come up to him. It proves that what they're doing really is worthwhile. It's not just, in the movies.
Yeah.
Wow. What do you think the hardest part or the worst part, or however you want to phrase it, of being a firewife is?
So, well, for me, it's like the time and like the increased kind of like responsibilities and, expectations. And so mostly like with parenting, right? So like, like having like 3 kids and it's like being the default parent, you know what I mean? Like, so Pat is the most amazing dad. And when he's home, he's 100% on, he's doing everything. But when he's not home, which is a lot of the time, it's like you're the default. So everything falls on you and you don't have like, a teammate there all the time to be helping you. And, parenting, ideally is a 2-person job, especially like,
should be more,
all hands
honestly.
on deck. Exactly. It takes a village, right? Yeah. So sometimes it's like, you know what I mean? You can get like this little bit of like underlying like resentment of most, like, especially like when the kids are young. We had ours really close together. So like we had 3 kids under 2.5. Wow. And so, it's like you're potty training and you're changing diapers and you're trying to like nurse and you're trying to like deal with the toddler tantrums and you're burnt out and so then it's like, some like resentment can sneak up and, he's at work hanging with his buddies, quote
unquote, right? Exactly.
Having like, they have the most amazing meals. Like we always joke, I'm a terrible cook. And so they make these awesome dinners at the firehouse.
That's right.
And so I'm like, you're eating well, whatever, like hanging out with the guys. And I'm like I'm like losing my mind over here.
Right.
So, and then every stage of life passes. And so now, it's hard having to be the one that's like, and then you end up, sometimes like, like the kind of like the power balance and with parenting, right? So like sometimes, and I feel like I'm like the bad guy because I'm always like, we got to stick to the routine. Yeah. And then he comes home and he's just, he's naturally fun and like humorous and, and so he gets them laughing and like they wrestle together and like, and I'm like the one, okay, we got to clean up now. And so, it's just that, but it's like, that's all, that can happen, I think, with any, any parenting and any job, but it's just intensified so much with the,
Yeah. I think you're very fun. I think anybody who lives with Pat has to be very fun. I know he's like the most renowned prankster of Natick Fire, so that's pretty amazing. But I feel like you're speaking what's in my brain right now because it's the same thing with us. We, Robbie comes home and he's awesome and he's amazing. He's always on when he's home.
Yeah.
but he's not home that much.
Mhm.
And especially when they want to build their career more, he's taking classes, and he's also a contractor. Pat is an electrician. They have separate careers. It's not just the fire department.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, we also want to have our careers, but we have to do everything else at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's another, like, one of the challenges that I found is, so, and it just so, you know what I mean? Like, so I'm a social worker, which,
Mhm.
and, you know, doesn't pay very much. And he's an electrician, and then, and owns his own business. So it's like, there's so much pressure, you know, for him with that, and, you know, with customers, and then the firefighting schedule, like, obviously that's strict. It can't be late, like all these things. So we, you know what I mean? I kind of had to, like, put my career on hold so that, you know, because he couldn't, and his, you know, and it just made more sense that way. You know, we get our health insurance through, you know, the fire department, the town, you know, the electrical business, you know, it took a while to, like, you know, to build that up. And so you can't just, like, let it sit. So it just, you know, it made the most sense for me to take the time off, but it was also hard because, again, I love what I do. So, you know, with firefighting, it's like you can't put that on pause. Like, yeah.
Right. You have to be there. That's right. Do you feel like you had a calling to be a social worker? Do you feel the same way about your job that he does about his?
Yeah.
Wow. So what a sacrifice you made to put that on hold. Do you think he would have done the same for you?
Oh, total. Oh, yes, he would have if it made sense. Good. Yeah.
Good. Do you ever talk to him about this? You know, you use the word resentment, which I think is a really good word, even though it can sound harsh.
Yeah.
But it's the truth. It's just how you feel sometimes.
Yeah.
Do you ever tell him or talk to him about that kind of stuff?
Yeah. Like we, you know, so what do I always say to him? I'll be like, yeah, like we just have, like, these, like, joking, like, sarcastic. I'll be like, yep, I'll just take care of everything. You know, kind of, like, funny. And then,
totally.
And then he'll be like, yep, I'm just going to go out and fill the bank account. And, like, we're totally, like, joking, right? But it's like, it's that humor of, like, you know, he feels some, like, guilt about, like, not being home and, like, helping out with the kids. You know what I mean? But it's
he's
like
also supporting, so he's doing.
Oh, totally, yeah.
It's hard. You can't. It can't all be 50-50.
Yeah,
it's impossible, especially with a career like theirs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that's a good way to handle it. Kind of bring some humor into it.
Yes,
which I know Pat is not short on.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Does he pull any pranks on you guys? I know he does with the kids. Does he do it to you, or do you have, like, a rule?
He doesn't with me most of the time. Like, he likes to make the boys laugh, and, you know, we talk about, like, so I think humor, because one of the other things I think is really hard about being a firefighter that's, like, not talked about is that, like, secondary trauma. You know what I mean? And so
Preach.
I know.
Preach, right? Woman. Please tell me more about that.
Yeah, because they, you know, it's like they're, like, wired to, you know, want to protect others and, like, help others and, you know, provide and be tough, right? And so when I think he has so many, like, antics at the fire department, like, humor is his, like, coping strategy. He doesn't bring any of it home, like, when he's having, so you know, he doesn't, but he has said, like, you know, after some really, really hard calls, he'll be like, you know what I mean? Like, like, you can tell it's, like, bothering him, and he'll just be like, I need a minute, but he won't, like, put it on us. And it's funny because I'm a therapist, right? Mm-hmm. But he knows there's some things that, like, are hard. I'm okay with, like, that's where we, like, balance each other out. So I'm really good with, like, you know, emotional distress, but physical, like, pain and whatever, bleeding, broken bones, like, that sort of stuff, I panic. Mm-hmm. And he's amazing at. And then with him, you know, it's like the emotions are, you know, just like any firefighter, right? Like the typical, like, you know, I'm okay. It's my job. I have to do that. Like, so he doesn't bring it home, and he uses humor, right? And it's, I think people enjoy it at the firehouse. Let's hope. And then at home, you know, he'll be, you know, he jokes around with the kids, and, you know, he can lighten a situation, which is wonderful. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I wonder if all the firefighters are wired to do that, because Robbie does the same thing. You know, you make light of things because at the end of the day, the things that we feel are serious at home maybe aren't so serious when all you see all day is trauma. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I want to be taken seriously. I don't want to be made light of every time I'm stressed about something. So But it's funny because I feel like Robbie's the biggest jokester in my life. Obviously, Pat is in your life.
Yeah.
And he says Pat's like the funniest guy in the world. So if Robbie is calling him that, he must be, which is amazing.
I love that.
They love each other. I think they get along really well from what I can tell.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, I can't imagine anybody who doesn't get along with Pat. So
yeah, he's pretty easy to get along with.
Which is nice too at the firehouse. But then they also have this extra layer of, they have this alpha male thing, and Robbie comes home and there's like no alpha at all. He's so easygoing. I'm not saying he's a pushover or anything, but we're not, like, I feel like we're equal, we're partners. But then he'll tell me stuff at the firehouse like, well, I'm lieutenant and he's my deputy, so I have to listen, and you wouldn't do well at the firehouse because you wouldn't take orders and things like that. And I'm like, of course I don't take orders because I'm a grown person.
Yes.
What do you think of that?
So that's funny that you brought that up. I know we used to, it kind of, especially like, I'm a social worker and I look at everything as like collaborative, like you're all on the same team, and, kind of like building each other up, because, it's a very hierarchical structure. And I think and it's not for, it's not necessarily for me, right? But Pat kind of explains that it's for in emergencies, like that's what works, and like
that's true. That's a good way to think about it.
There's a structure for a reason, and like there's all these like systems, and there's like traditions that I'm like, oh my god, why do you guys still do that? That doesn't make any sense,
right?
Like, I'm like, you could do it better this way. I'm always telling him, I'm like, you guys, it would be a lot more efficient if you guys just did it this way, or like, I don't know if you hear from like union meetings, like it takes forever to make
my goodness,
the simplest change. And I'm like, why don't you just do this? It would be so much easier. He's like, well, you can't because you have to vote on it, and then the town has to approve this and that. And I'm like, you guys are stuck in the Stone Ages.
Thank you. It sounds like you're in the 1800s still when you say all this stuff.
Yeah, I just want to come in and like help, do like a problem solving session where everybody feels their voice is heard.
Right.
But it makes sense that in these situations, right, where there's a fire or people are in trouble, that you don't, you know what I mean? Like you don't necessarily like question the, such and such. But I think it can be hard. Like they basically live with each other. I mean, what is it? 25% of their, I don't know, something. Yeah, like 25%. Yeah. It's every 8 days, 2 out of every 8 days.
Right.
So like 25% of their life is spent with this family. You know what I mean?
They don't necessarily choose. I mean, they do, but you obviously have no control over who you're on the truck with and who you're sharing a room with or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's true. That's a good point. Mm-hmm. I remember Robbie was telling me one of the other guys' wives was joking, like, hey, just have the wives come in, and in one union meeting, we'll get your contract settled. Everything will be done, because all they do is kind of just try to be tough guy, whereas we are the problem solvers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
And I love that there's like, I mean, I don't know how many females are on now, but it's definitely more than,
Much more. Mm-hmm.
Than in the past. And so I'm sure, hopefully, just having like, that feminine voice in there, it's a different perspective. Everybody, brings something.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Other than just like, it's good for the women to be treated as equals. Do you think it brings a little of a positive change for the men to be able to be a little more in touch with their emotions or get some extra help if they need it, that kind of thing?
I think so. So like from what I've heard, and so my grandfather was a firefighter.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Nice. In Worcester. And my mom would tell me, so this was probably like, 60, 70 years ago, but my mom was like, they wouldn't allow, you know what I mean? Like women, and if anybody like were to even, they would kind of like socially, emotionally push them out. So like make it so unbearable that they would just, quit sort of thing.
Oh, sure.
So it was just so stereotypical like that, but now, and Pat tells me now, it's like, I hear that there's a lot more like when something really traumatic does happen, and and it's cumulative, right? It's not like one event. It's people are starting to speak up and say, and like there's more resources available, and there's less like shame and stigma around it. Like people are utilizing it, which I think is so great.
That's what I've heard. Yeah. I'm not sure that people that live in my house are utilizing it.
I know,
but in theory, I think it's available. But it's good to try to move into the future, right? Like we don't want to be stuck in the past, stuck in the Stone Ages, to your point.
Yeah, I know. And then it's like everybody copes with everything differently. And like, 2 firefighters could be, at 2 first responders, right? Could be at the same event and can perceive it very differently.
Absolutely.
And like absorb it, you know what I mean? And so if it's just the fact that it's like there, like the support and the resources is there, and that the stigma is decreasing, so that those who want to, and it should, you know what I mean, should never be like forced, but it's just there. Because it's hard, it's so hard to be vulnerable.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Especially when you're surrounded by other people who are not willing to talk about it or open up. It makes you feel like you're weak when they're probably experiencing the same exact thing. They just don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And at home too, I think that's a lot of it. You know, they don't want to worry us, you know, so Pat purposefully does not tell me any like, you know, scary stories. And I don't like to hear about any like, you know, blood or things like that. So sometimes he'll tell me like some funny things or I had a hard day, but he doesn't bring it home, and he doesn't show an impact, but it doesn't mean that it's not there. So I'm always like, hey, I'm a big proponent of therapy. So I'm like, listen, wonderful. Just have somebody, you know, just have someone that you can, you know, make appointments when you need them. It doesn't have to be like ongoing, but yeah.
Yeah. And does he?
No. But that's more of a time thing. He's not like anti, but there's just literally feels like there's no time.
Yeah.
So he does like, you know, the 48 hours at the fire department, and then the electrician is full time.
I can't even imagine doing all the work that they do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can understand that. I mean, as a mom, right? We're both moms, and I'm like planning ahead on how I can go get a haircut.
Yeah.
Because then I need childcare. I can't imagine like a standing weekly appointment for them when they're doing all this stuff, but they're the ones who need it the most.
Yes.
But so do we, right? Like they come home and to your point, it's not like he's taking it out on you, but it's still a stressful thing. Mm-hmm. It's still really stressful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have somebody who can support you? I know you're a therapist, but you shouldn't be your own therapist.
Oh yeah, definitely. Oh. No, I do have, yes, like people that I reach out to and talk about, and like, we need more of this. I know. We should if we do like Zoom or something, like I would just love to talk to you more.
It would be amazing. I think we're all feeling that right now.
Yeah.
So I think this is going to be a good trigger to try to get people together. I know you mentioned somebody else was trying to get a group together, which is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
We should do that and just, you know, have a glass of wine and just let loose. We don't have to talk about them. We can talk about them. It doesn't matter.
I know. And more of these lattes.
More of these lattes. Yeah. You like it?
Yes. She makes an amazing latte.
I do love my coffee. All right. So I know things are changing, and I know that they have more protection and more screenings, but their risk of cancer is significantly higher than the rest of the population. Do you think about that? Do you compartmentalize it? Do you put it away? What do you do?
Well, so how much is it still? It's still much, much higher?
I don't know any statistics. I just know the exposures that they have. I know that their uniforms now, not their uniforms, their bunker gear is better. I know that they have, you know, it's not like it was 50 years ago.
Yeah.
But I remember the firehouse that, I don't remember which one, I think it's Station 4.
Yeah.
That one was built who knows when. And I think, you know, I don't know that they're doing everything that they can be doing, probably because of funding.
Yeah.
But you still think about it. I mean, cancer is a big thing in the fire department.
Yeah.
I try not to think about it too much, but as a therapist, how do you handle stuff like that?
Oh my goodness. Well, this is really bad to say. I don't think about it. And this is just a total side note. Like when Pat, I'm like, I used to be a much bigger worrier when I was younger. Mm-hmm. And I think, I don't know, my life perspective is like different now, but it's like, you know, how like, you know, what you think about, right, expands and ends up turning up, because it's like what you think you'll find, right? Like, and so I tend not to focus on, because I was thinking about, like, I'm sure for a lot of wives, and like, you know, our husbands work in Natick, so it's not the most like dangerous, right? You know, there's not a ton of fires and things like that, but it only takes one. It only, you know what I mean? It's just, but it never dawns on me that Pat wouldn't come home. And I know that sounds so naive, but I don't want to think anything else. Like, I
don't think it's naive at all. I think that's the only way we can get through.
Yeah. And it's like, even if like he wasn't like a firefighter, right? I can't picture like living without him. And so I'm always like, listen, I need to die first.
Right.
So I picture us like growing old together, and like, I can't, you know what I mean? Like having grandkids and like traveling again when he retires. And so I don't think for 2 seconds about the cancer or like the you know, whatever, like, you know, not coming home from a fire. And it's like anything could happen, you know, with mental health, right? You know, these days, like when they show up with, you know, guns, you know what I mean? And just anything that you respond to, you don't know, like what you're coming to. But no, I just think I'm gonna see Pat. Sometimes I don't see Pat for a couple days because of the job.
Right.
Because of the jobs. Like he wakes up at, you know, they get out at 8 a.m. So they work like 8 a.m. to 8 a.m. And then he goes straight to the electrical jobs. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I'll just be like, oh, we'll see Dad in a couple days. But that's it. It never once crosses my mind that he wouldn't be coming home. Yeah. So I guess, I don't know. I guess it's just not the healthiest, but.
No, you have to put it away. It's the only way, I think. Otherwise, we would never let them leave the house. Yeah. Yeah. But that's true of anything, right? You could cross the street and get hit by a car. Who knows? Yeah. Right. But I think it's good to have that skill to be able to set it aside. Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny, because when, you know, we had talked about doing this, and then so this morning, right, I'm like, oh, I got to think about like what it means to be a firefighter wife. So because, you know, it's just your life, you know what I mean? It's just your like your routine and everything. And then I'm like, okay, so what does it actually mean? And then I started to get like really like emotional about it and thinking like, yeah, that's kind of a big deal, but it's just, you know, it's just who we are. It's just who we are. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to make you emotional. No, it's good. No, it's not a bad sometimes thing. It's good. Yeah, and it really just makes you, you know, appreciate like our partners, like what they do, but also like what we do. What we do, exactly. I think we do a lot. And I don't mean for this to like be a bitching session. That's not at all the goal. The goal is just to show that it, as you said, it takes a village. It's not just the firefighters who are making sacrifices, but also all of their partners and their parents and their kids and everybody. It's a family affair. Yeah. 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 Like we, you know, when the kids were little, say like, you know, 8 and 10 years old, like they'd be like, you know, well, Dad's leaving again. And like, they would just start to cry. Oh. And, then Pat doesn't, you know, he's walking out the door and then Pat doesn't want to walk out. You know, it's so hard. He's like, the hardest part of my job is like getting in the car and going to work. Oh, wow. Yeah. And so, you know what I mean? Like they'd be crying. And so I think, you know, cause it's like they understood, like, and they're not crying cause they think something's going to happen to him. They just crying cause they want him to be home. Of course. And you know, it might be a couple days. Pat's like, he works so much. And most firefighters might have, we joke, I think most firefighters have a second job. I don't think anybody doesn't. Yeah. I mean, they also don't get paid that well, right? So most of them have to find a second job. Yeah, if you want to have kids. Mm-hmm. And if you want to live like, I mean, with Natick, it's like you can't live in Natick on a firefighter's salary. It's crazy. So yeah, but we always joke like, firefighters, they all have second jobs because they would have too much time on their hands and they would get into trouble. That's true. That's true. That's actually very true. Especially a prankster like that. He would definitely get into a lot of trouble. That's funny. Yeah. Do you visit the firehouse a lot when he's working? So the kids and I would, when they were younger, like we would stop by all the time just because, well, to see Pat, but also, I mean, Station 1 is so fun. They could like run around, jump in all the trucks, like, they had like Pat did like the rescue diving and so they'd go in and like, get in that thing. And yeah, and like, the like all the other firefighters would like say hi to them and be like, oh no, the Warren boys are here because they're terrorists, just so you know. I would stop by a lot. Now he's so Station 1 is like the main station. So it's huge. There must be like at least 10 trucks there. Like trucks enormous, and like SUVs and the 2 ambulances and all that. Which is great. We're moving into the future. Yes. Right. Mm-hmm. That and like the most firefighters are there. So it was like, it really felt like when we would go in, people like, knew the boys and, knew me. And it was so nice to like catch up. Now they're older, so it's not as fun for, they're not as interested in the trucks and all that. And they're probably busier now. Oh my God, so busy. And Pat's at like, one of the outstations, like very small. So there's only 2 other firefighters. And so we'll stop in to say hi. But yeah, we really loved that like sense of community. And like, we'd bring, when our friends were in town, we'd be like, let's go to the fire station. And it's so nice. I think we're still there right now because my kids are younger than yours. But the hard part now is we're not living in Natick anymore. Yeah. So to get there, I have to make sure that he's not on the ambulance because when he's on the ambulance, there's no chance I'm going to catch him, obviously, because they're out all day. And I have to hope that they don't get a call because I have had times where I'll drive the 45 minutes. I get there. They just left. They might be canceled. They might be back in an hour. Yeah. And I have a little kid in the car. I'm not going to hang around. Yes. So, but she does enjoy it. It's really fun at this age. Yeah, because she's little. She's only 4. So. Oh. Yeah. So, well, if he's on a call, stop in and see us. Oh yeah, because you're right there. I
Yes,
forgot. Yeah.
so we're just like a mile from Station 3.
Oh nice. That's
So
awesome.
you can like kill time.
If I can catch you, you have 3 preteen kids.
I know they're so busy. I don't remember being this busy as a kid.
No. I say that all the time. I have a lot of friends and cousins and everybody with kids around your kids' age.
Yeah.
I think the things that they're doing right now, and I don't mean the things they're doing, but how much they're doing right now is insane.
Yeah.
Sports, extracurriculars, you have to get good grades. Like, when do they sleep?
I know.
It's wild.
Yeah, I know.
So tell me, what else? You had mentioned, a couple things that you had wanted to bring up.
Yeah. Well, I think so. Like one of the perks, right, is it's almost like, so I remember like Pat transferred to Natick, I guess like maybe like 12 years ago, and Barry and Gigi used to like host like that big pool party during the summer.
So fun.
And I'm more of like a one-on-one person, and I like parties, but like anyway, so I wasn't gonna know anybody. Like he had just like gotten on there, and it just like everybody just like swallows you in, and like you're just instantly like part of this extended family that you didn't, you know what I mean? It's like you don't have to say the right thing or like, prove yourself or anything. Like you're just like part of the family. And I was like, it was a beautiful thing. Like, and Pat was on like shift 3 at the time, which was, I mean, everybody's moved around since then, but it was such a fun like shift.
Yeah.
Like we all just had like young kids, like right around the same age. And, it was wonderful. So just basically that when you are part of like this fire department, like you're all part of it. Like you're all, have a role and have, it's a bond, right? That
right.
you don't need to do anything. It's just, so I think that's beautiful.
Yeah, I agree. I think that sense of community, sense of family is really probably one of the best parts, I think, of being partners to the firefighters. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a little different now. Have you noticed? I don't know if it's a COVID thing or if it's just our age or our kids' ages. If we haven't seen each other in so long.
Yeah. Well, sometimes, yes, I think life gets in the way. Mm-hmm. Like, and there's just not enough hours in the day. And like my family will be like, we don't ever get to see you. And I think, part of that is just, like the stage of life that we're in. But I also think that there's a little bit of a shift happening in fire departments. Like maybe, it's like, maybe universal, maybe just in Natick. I have no idea. But I feel, you know what I mean? Like, again, like we talked about how our husbands like just really felt like called to it. Like there was nothing else that they wanted to do. And that like the traditions were really important to them, and like that purpose and that serving your community. Right. And this is like a generational thing. I sound so old, and I am. I'm getting up there.
No, you're not. But this is very true.
But I think that like sometimes it's like less about serving others and more just about, okay, it's just a job. Like it's just a job. Whereas I think for a lot of firefighters, it's not like it didn't used to be, right? Like just a job. And for most, I'm sure it's still like very, very an honored role to have. But sometimes, and this is why it's things, things change and things shift. And so sometimes it's just a job for people. So they go in and they do it, and then they go home and, and then they have other things in their life that are important. And so just, I hope, right, that the sense of community is not diminishing, and that bond and that shared purpose, right? They're all like, no matter what, like they're connected, whether they want to be or not. And so you can, but everybody puts in a different amount of effort into like in any of our relationships, right? It all depends on like how much effort you put in. So I hope that it stays as, as committed, and can't think of the right words I want to use, but because it's, it's just as a family, I hope it stays like it's respectful, and like everybody honoring who each person is and what they bring, like, because everybody's got different strengths, right? Just like in a regular family, like we all, you don't always see eye to eye, but you're on the same team.
Yeah. You make such an amazing point. I think Robbie was telling me the other day that I think he said in Massachusetts there's 11,000 openings for firefighters or something. Yeah. I think that's what he said. they can't seem to fill the positions. It's not what it used to be.
Yes.
And we're not talking 100 years ago. Like 10, 15, 20 years ago, it was completely different than it is now.
Yeah.
And it stinks because then that means they don't have the support that they need, but also they're getting forced to stay there.
Yes.
Right? Because there's nobody who's available to take the shift. So they're on shift and there's not enough guys, so they have to stay. They're not allowed to leave.
Yeah.
So then that's even more of like a cascade to all the other things they have to do.
Yeah, the morale, it definitely feels like, like the being forced to stay at work after you've already...
Can you imagine?
Yeah, no, I mean, there's, obviously like, in your, in the medical field, like and things like that,
but not quite as much. I mean, I guess not in my field, right? Maybe if you work in an emergency room or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can't leave until you get relieved. But I don't think the shortage is as bad as it is.
Yeah. I know. And that's what I think, and I wonder, when that happened, right? I think.
Yeah. It feels recent.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. It feels recent. And now it's like, and it's hard because there's all these people, right? Robbie and Pat have been on the same amount of time, and all the people that like they looked up to when they started working there are retiring,
That's right.
And now there's people looking up to them, which is really funny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're like, oh, you're the grown-up now. Yeah. Okay, that's interesting.
Yes, and I think that, they're, probably setting, a good example, right, and modeling, like, what the profession is, and hopefully that continues, right? You don't know.
You don't know. That's right. Yeah. Wow. You have a really good way with words.
Oh, really?
You make me, like, think about things, and I'm like, yeah, I hadn't really considered that. I like that.
But I just love the camaraderie, and like one story that I didn't want to forget to share, right, is, so he had, I'm trying to think, he'd only been on Natick for a little bit, and we were, and then we hadn't bought our house. So like when he was on in Natick, and then we were looking for like our house. And so we found a house in Natick, and we had a move-in date, and picked out, and anyway, and so, and like had hired like the moving truck and so forth. And I was, I was like 6 months pregnant at the time.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm.
And we lost the baby right. So we lost, her name was Hope. So we lost Hope on like Tuesday, right? And the moving date was Saturday.
Oh my gosh.
And it was just, there was all these things that like we couldn't move around. And I was like, we didn't know what, we were like, oh my God, like, do we, because I had to have, like the surgery and all this stuff. Yeah. And then we were like, do we like move on Saturday? Because there was all these other things happening. We couldn't. And so anyways, we decided to like move forward with it and like move on Saturday. So it was just a few days later.
Oh my goodness.
And we show up to the house in Natick, and there was like 10 firefighters there to like ready to unload like the moving truck.
That's amazing.
They literally like, because we had the twins were like 2 at the time, and so they were still in cribs, and like they put together the cribs. One of them was like mowing the lawn because like the lawn was out of control because we hadn't moved in yet, and they just like they put all the boxes like and like unpacked like the stuff that we needed, and it was done in like 2 hours.
Wow.
And like, and I didn't know any of them because I think we had just started like there. And like, that's how crazy it is that's
their
like
family.
Right. So like that, I mean, just like that sort of camaraderie that we talked about, like they, you know what I mean? Like they barely knew me, and like we show up and they're just like, boom, done. We got it taken care of. And it was such a relief.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. I didn't know that. That's I knew about Hope, of course, but I didn't know that they did that. That's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, we couldn't, I mean, there's nothing, like that, I think, anywhere else.
Yeah. I'm sorry that you all went through that. I know how, it's life-changing, and you never get over it. I know you continue on, but...
Yeah. But, like, such, you know what I mean? But they always say, like, when, terrible things happen, you can see, like, the beauty of, like, like humanity and all that stuff, and it's so true.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's a good way to think about it. Yeah. It's the bright side of it, I guess. Not that there's a bright side, but...
Yeah.
Wow. So, on that note, this isn't your first podcast. This is your second time being interviewed for a podcast, right?
I know. Yeah, well, that's my only 2, yeah.
Your only 2. You're a celebrity, I think. I've never been on a podcast, so that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
I'm so glad you're doing this. I hope you stick with it because...
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
And there's, like we talked about, like now there's so many different perspectives out there that can contribute to this. And I think just, make it more understood.
Right, because I don't think a lot of people really think about this aspect of it. So, yeah. So I have 2 more questions that I wanted to ask. One is, if Pat could do something, and maybe he already does, is there something that he's already doing or he could start doing to make you feel more appreciated? Not that we need glory, right? I know they're not in it for the glory either, but what could he do to help you feel like you're as big of a part or sacrificing as much as he is? Because you are.
Yeah. He does a good job. Like I can't, there's nothing I can think of more. He
sounds like a gem.
He is. And like, he'll just be like, he acknowledges, right? I think we all just want to be like acknowledged, right? And like seen for what we do. And so he'll just, send me, if he's not home, like, he'll send me like text being like, he just like says like, thank you for like, whatever, like holding down the fort, or like, and I'm so sorry I couldn't, be there for that. Or when we literally have like 3 activities in one day, right? For like, and I'm like, he's like, I'm so sorry I can't. One of the things I hate is like, I love seeing the kids do their activities. I hate all the driving. Yeah. Because it's just like, you're just like, it's not like fun, like scenic driving. And so I hate the constant like driving. I feel like I have work during the day and then I'm like an Uber driver. And the kids, of course, like they're not at the age where like they think to say thank you, right? Like they're not quite there yet. They do. They appreciate it, but they don't. So, but like Pat will be like, I'm so sorry I can't help with the driving today. Like, superstar, like, thank you. So like, I think, right, for any like fire husbands, like, it's just like acknowledging, like, because that's all, like, you don't have to do anything special. Like, it's just like, you just want to be like seen and appreciated for the day to day, because it's just like, it's like burnout. Yeah.
That's right. I was thinking about it for me. I think one thing that Robbie does do sometimes is that he also does the same thing where he always says thank you, and he sees all the stuff that I do. But one thing that's like a little special, I guess, my birthday passed last month or whatever, and he was at the firehouse, and he was actually in class in the morning, and then, which he had to take a vacation shift to take his own class for the firehouse, which is crazy to me.
Yes, I know.
It's so wild. So he took his own vacation shift for himself to go to class. And then that night he was going to be back at the firehouse, and I was home, but he actually ended up not telling me, but he took that night off, and he called my sister-in-law, and my friend and my cousin. So like my little group of people, and we went and played trivia while he stayed home with the kids. Yeah. So he took a vacation shift so I could do something, and it was such a small thing, but it wasn't, because taking a vacation shift is not a small thing. Yeah. But I really appreciated it, because I know he couldn't sacrifice class. I get that. That's, you can't change that, but it just reminded me that he's not like taking me for granted. Like, oh, she's home, she's fine, we'll figure it out later. Yeah. And then he planned something for a couple of days later for me and him. Yeah. Which is really cool. So just,
he's awesome.
He's awesome.
That's what it is. It's like, doing like having that like girl time, right? Like saying, get out.
Just get out. I've got it. And take a minute to yourself, which is cool. We were terrible at trivia, by the way, but it was so fun, right? Like it was so fun. It was great. Finally, I think one thing that I remember when Robbie and I first got together was, going into it, you have all these grand expectations and it's so like romantic and la la la. Yeah. How is it different, and or what advice would you give to a new fire spouse?
So, well, two parts. So one of them, and I think this is probably everybody's, is the schedule part, right? And missing like the holidays, but it's like the holidays, like we're fine with, like, because we'll just do, but it's more like it's the things that you can't redo, or like, so like the sports events that like he wants, you know what I mean, like missing like a wrestling tournament, or and he coaches all of their teams, right? So it's like, but he can't be at all the games, so it's very hard, right? Yeah. So, or like a band concert, so things that you can't like redo, like there's only like, and so he'll miss out on those, right? And so just sort of like that expectation of there's gonna be, how do you balance, like, because if you know what I mean, like there's vacation shifts, right? And like personal health days. But
There's
if
only
you
so
use
many.
all of those, you know what I mean, to go to these events, then you can't actually go on vacation, which is important too.
Right.
So, balancing like what's most important, right, to your family. Like, is it holidays? Is it vacations? Is it these milestone
Right.
events? But I think the hardest part, right, was missing the little moments that like you didn't even know that they were going to happen. You know what I mean? Like, so just those day-to-day little moments. And so knowing that they're going to be gone and you're going to be like, whatever it is, like seeing those, like experiencing those on your own. It's a little bit lonely sometimes.
Yeah.
But but if you having some flexibility, right? So like knowing what's most important for your family, and then also like having flexibility of like the holidays and all of those. Like we don't actually care about the exact dates of, so like we don't even, if we can celebrate it on the day, that's great. But like we'll celebrate it, whatever, like the next day or 2 days later.
That's great. That's nice to do that.
And sometimes it makes it so much less stressful with this whole not having to do it like on the day, because then more people can like be together, because like both our parents are divorced, so we have like the whole 4 families thing going on.
So it's a lot of celebration. That's good.
So anyway, so just that, you know what I mean, like the schedules and figuring out, what matters to you. And then I think knowing that like it's not just the individual that's the firefighter, right? It's the whole family. And so kind of, even though it's hard, right? When things are hard, it feels like more manageable if you know like the why behind it. So especially like for the kids, right? And so like, because they are just like, they, when they're younger, they're just like, well, it's just unfair. Like, why, you know what I mean? Like, why can't like my dad be there? Everybody else's dad is there.
That's so true.
Yeah. So, but now, and like, so it's like, we keep like planting these seeds. Is he's not just the one like doing the work, like and like, so he's serving the community, right? And he's having this impact on people, and they're a part of it. Wow. Like he can't do it without us. So it's like we're part of the team. And so like we're all having an impact. And by you letting other people use your dad, you're, you know what I mean? Like you're really helping. And like, that makes, and so then it feels like if it has like some purpose, right? Yeah. And especially like, when people will come up and say, because people come up to Pat, like, like our neighbor will just be like, oh my God, like you took my, my mom, the other day by ambulance, and I was freaking out, and you made me feel so calm, and I can't tell you, like, and so the boys like hear that, right? And so then I just think, right, like it feels like we all have some part in that, and that helps.
Yeah. And that helps them understand that what he's doing is, you can't replace it. It's amazing. Wow. Even just thinking about, we'll be at a party, and where were we the other day? We were at a party at a restaurant, and it was a buffet style. Yeah. And the tablecloth caught fire. Oh my God. I know, it was so silly. It was, I guess, the burner that was under the food. Somehow, I don't know what happened. Yeah. But everyone's like, Robbie! And he made the joke like, I'm off duty. That's what they all say. Yeah. But it was a small little thing. They put it out really easily. But just like the fact that they're always the first person that we all jump to. Yes. Yes. Everybody runs to them. Yes. The other day, I cut my finger, which was really silly of me. I was using I was just cutting in a stupid way, and I can handle a cut, but I came running down. I was like, Robbie, I cut my finger. Yeah. And then he looked at it, and I was like, wait, I can handle it. Like it just, but that was my first reaction, is to just run to them. They're the person that we go to. Yes. So that does really help to remember that. And I really like what you're saying about talking to the kids about, we are also contributing by doing this, because I'm at the point now where our daughter is 4. She's going to start asking all these questions and crying when dad does not hear and things like that. So I like that. That's a really good piece of advice for parents, at least. Yes. If you're a fire partner parent. Yeah. I like framing it that way. That's great. Yeah. Anything else you want to add? I think that's all I had for today. Yeah. No, I think we kind of did. Yeah. Kind of hit on everything. I think so too. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. This was lovely. I really, really enjoyed talking to you. I think we should do this more. Oh, I would love I know we've known each other for years, but we don't really sit one-on-one like this. Yeah. You're amazing. Yeah. Oh, I love this so much. I'm glad that you're doing it. And I'm gonna drop in for more lattes and conversations. Thank you. Lattes and conversations. I like that. Robbie was saying ladies with lattes or something. Lattes with the ladies or something earlier. I'm like, I like that. That's a good one.
Yes.
And thank you for what you do. It's not unnoticed.
Oh, thank you. Same. I mean, yeah, you're always taking care of people.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed being here as much as I did. If you have any questions for me, or if you'd like to be interviewed, please reach out at thefirewivespodcast@gmail.com. You can also follow me on Instagram and Facebook. Tune in next week for the next episode of Firewives.